None of us
I
have
want
PTSD.
to change topic and talk about Ukraine because a lot is happening. IDFK is not a long one anymore, I think. Wyatt, what do
Mhm.
you think?
I think it
Russia
will
is
still take months
pushing for
and
the moment.
months. No,
Yeah.
Russia is pushing. Russia is pushing, but the thing is, how far they want to push is the question.
Yeah.
Russia is always very unpredictable. I gave up trying to predict what the Russians want to do. I mean, they're going to do because it's always wrong. Because they never do things that is logic, like how we will logically think that oh, you will attack here, attack there, capture this, capture. They will just attack and then they just withdraw. Like they keep doing that, and it's like it makes the map very boring. The map don't change.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look on the north side of Bakhmut, that's got a lot of potential. The north side of Avdiivka's got some potential, like they might blossom out. And it looks like they could. I mean, they obviously have the forces to do it, but then, like Wyatt said, it seems like the obvious thing to do, but then they don't do it. They just sit there and maybe fortify it, and then, 6 months from now, all of a sudden they do it. And then I think, like between Kremenaya and around Seversk, I think there's some potential there, especially around Seversk, east of it. But it just depends on what they want to do. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff there. And the Ukrainians are kind of getting pinched down against some of these smaller rivers where there's no bridges really left to cross. And if they did have to leave that area, especially along that Kremenaya front, I mean, they're going to have to leave a lot of stuff behind because there's no roads to cross, and they're not going to swim across with anything. So, I mean,
This
it just
Avdiivka thing
depends. I mean,
is
it's got a lot of potential. There's not a lot of – it doesn't look like there's any real strong units. There's not a lot of fortifications, but, I would look at it and say, hey, why
Avdiivka
don't
thing
we just pound it with artillery for a
not
couple of
about
days and then advance with
Russian
the
plans.
artillery?
Radio.
But
Avdiivka thing is not about Russian plans. Most of the fighters there are Donbas militias there. Very little Russians are mostly artillery and planes and all that larger logistics. Well, it's Donbas militias fighting there. Why? Because we were saying a few months back that how the shelling of the Donetsk, it's really pain in the ass, and they have to get rid of it because the population is getting antsy about it. So much shelling on civilians. So it's most probably Donbas militia decision to do Avdiivka clearance, not so much from the rest of it, from the general Russian planning, right? And that's the thing, because there's no logic in pushing the most defended area. The Avdiivka is the most defended area, and they're pushing it right there. There's no logic. I mean, but they're doing it. Just it's hard
yeah,
to,
I mean, but still,
to
I
say
mean, all
why.
they got to do is get the,
I think
get
it
the
is
coast
logical
front
to push
across.
Avdiivka. I mean, it's well defended, but I don't think that they're trying to attack Avdiivka directly. What they're doing instead is trying to cut it off, right? I mean, if you look at the position that Avdiivka holds, it's this fortress that's now in a salient, so they're able to attack it from 3 different sides, right? And that's really the advantage that Russia has there. That's why they're pushing it. They know that Ukraine wants to hold that fortress desperately, so they can just keep attriting them and keep on reducing, keep on hitting the supply as it comes in. So I think that they're going to end up having a pretty positive outcome for the Russians.
If you look at it too, they hit Stepovy, and then they step back, and now they're kind of east of Stepovy, but they're going north around it. So it's like they're closing it off at the same time. They're kind of widening it so that more units can keep feeding into this salient. I mean, it's just they've got enough troops all over the place that they can just push wherever they want, whenever they want. They can create the illusion of offenses. I mean, that's why they're doing all this massive pushing. It's like most of it's probably not going to be anything more than positional fighting or just recon. Maybe they'll shell some people they find or hit some positions. But overall, unless something breaks loose that they want to exploit, or something happens that they weren't expecting, like they just up and run, then maybe they'll move up real quick. But I mean, a lot of times, like what Wyatt said, it's just push up, make contact, drop back, hit them, push up, drop back, hit them. And eventually they just,
There
like that
were
one
the-
video, they just walk up with some drones flying around and tell them where to get the last few holdouts, finish them off, and then they got that position.
So what I noticed
there
is
were
that
these
the Russians, right,
pushing
will not.
everywhere.
What I noticed is that the Russians will not take grounds that they cannot defend. So if they go into a place, they capture that place, but it's very hard to entrench themselves, or they don't have the time, or maybe the Ukrainian artillery is heavy, they will just withdraw. So if they can hold the ground, they can entrench themselves, they will do it. So for example, like they conquered that volcano. They entrench themselves in, and then they push out a bit. There must be a attempt to entrench themselves, then the Russia will hold the ground. If not, they will just withdraw. So this is something that I've noticed so far. But most of the time they are not aiming to capture ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
That's
think
been
about
for a
it,
long
when they
time like
changed
that,
their
but,
tactics and went to capturing ground, that's when they did that heavy assault with the tanks and took a lot of casualties. But for them, that calculation was worth it because it got them the terrain feature they wanted, and now they can set up and move to the next thing.